Sunny ways, my friends. Sunny ways.
So the answer to that is to stop being stupid.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of a plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles, sort of thing.
Well, Lottie frickin' God!
You're ready to fight, aren't you? I can feel it!
I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Sorry? The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
There's the funds.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
He's announcing a catalog, everybody! Give him a round of applause! Come on, give him a round of applause! You can't afford a home. You might end up in a tent. Your rent is doubled, but hey, you've got a brand new catalog.
When I'm prime minister, I will keep my promises. Now, another promise. Let me try again.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
you must know somebody.
We need to trigger an axe the tax election as soon as possible.
We'll do it live. No, we'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off, yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Unhinged Fringe, our new Wednesday night show. I know we used to stream on Wednesdays, never really called it anything, but hey, let's call it an official show. How are you guys? I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing well tonight. I see some comments talking about the polls, talking about where things are going. We're going to get into all of that tonight, guys. We're going to talk about everything. We'll try and keep it as positive as we can. Things got to stay on as much of a normal level as we can. Let's try and glass half full it, shall we? Welcome into the stream, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. Chime in. Let's get started with a roll call. That usually gets people in a good mood. Let's see that roll call happen. Let me know where you're watching from. If it's your first time, let me know in the chat. Let's see if we can get somebody from every province in the country watching the stream. I'll try to get to as many as I can. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, hit those thumbs up underneath the video. Let's see if we can break a viewer record tonight. Let's go. David Brewer joining us from Springfield, Missouri, USA. Happy Wednesday. Welcome in, David. Welcome to all of our American viewers. Nelson Cade coming in from New Brunswick. We got I Stand My Ground coming in from Camrose, Alberta. Becca CRI coming in from Lloyd with the LFGs. Welcome in, Mystical. Trapped in a closet with Trudeau. Well, that's scary. Hope you're not on any lists. Welcome into the stream. Lloyd coming in from Rock Falls, from Smooth Rock Falls, Ontario. MEDW coming in from Sealy's Bay, Ontario. Cyberlink coming in from Kamloops, BC. John from Montreal. We got Marika coming in from Woke City, Montreal. Welcome into the stream. David Bell from Southwest Ontario. I said almost on territory. My God, I'm just out of it today, guys. I apologize. Mike TV Dub, one of my favorite mods named Mike, joining us from Winnipeg once again. It's great to have you into the stream. And Drazen Kid coming into the LFGs from Leduc. Welcome into the stream. Tammy coming in from Gimli, Manitoba. We got Carol and Gerald joining us once again from Calgary. OCD from Vavenby. Welcome in. It's great to have you here. Chris Lucas coming in from Edmonton. Great to have you guys in here. Lee's joining us from Leduc. Gina from Saskatchewan. Luca joining us from Burnaby, BC. Lee coming in from Edmonton. We got Kirk joining us from Manitoba. We got Hako coming in from Ontario. Welcome in. Mrs. Fringe is joining us from somewhere. I'm just kidding. She's got to spend some time with the kids, ladies and gents. I'm sorry she doesn't join us on Wednesdays. Soon she might be. I'll get into that a little later in the week. But hey, with that being said, let's continue on with the stream. Mark coming in from Ontario. We got Sean from St. Mary's, Ontario. Chris from Edmonton, Alberta. David coming in from High River. Did we stall out? Hang on, folks. Did we stall? Hang on. Sorry, the stream stalled for me on the old system here. Are we stalling? Hang on, guys. Stalling out here. Let me see if that helps. Mrs. Fringe likes to eat up the bandwidth while we're doing these streams. I don't know what's going on here or what's happening with the internet. Guys, stick with me. I apologize for any issues here. We got Rodney coming in from Newfoundland, all sorts from Scarberia. Guys, with that said, because of the delays there, I'm gonna have to get caught up. I'm gonna have to get caught up in the chat. If the stream's good, okay, so it's just stalling on my end, maybe. We got a lot to discuss this week. A lot going on, a lot happening in the interwebs, a lot happening in the media. I want to talk about some things tonight that maybe don't tie in with politics particularly. Sorry, I'm pulling up my bookmarks because I had to stop the shared web browser there for a second. Have you guys watched the Liberal debates this week? Let me know down in the comments if you watched the Liberal debates. I heard it was a snore fest. I didn't bother watching it because I covered part of it on the channel. We talked briefly about it in a video, and again, it was a snore fest. They were all agreeing with each other. It was all pretty much a setup just to promote Mark Carney. They shouldn't have even called it debates. There was no debating going on in those. Yeah, somebody saying I watched it was horrible, says Tammy. Romanian Patriot saying I missed the debates. James saying I watched, it was boring. Carbon Tax Carson, welcome to the stream. Couldn't watch, couldn't be bothered. There you go. Carbon Tax Carson. Carbon Tax Carson. Member of the Patriots Club. Just a reminder, folks, Friday night on Friday Night Fringe, we'll be doing our monthly giveaway to one Patriots Club member. If you haven't yet joined the channel, hit the join button down below the video. Join the Patriots Club. Your support goes a long way to helping this channel. And once a month, if you're a member of the channel for that month, your name is automatically entered into a draw to win one item from our shop, our merch shop, free of charge. So make sure to join the channel today. That draw again happening Friday. Make sure you guys are around Friday night for that. That being said, let's get on to what everybody comes here for, shall we? It's not to see this face, even though it's a close second, but everyone's here, in fact, for the memes, aren't you? You guys love the memes. Everybody loves the memes. Let's get started with some memes. Let's bring them in. This one goes back to the Doge government employee firing that's going on this week. There's a lot of Americans upset about it, but of course, it's all the ones that are working from home getting free government money. If you've ever watched Office Space, this one's going to hit hard. Government worker says 19-year-old Doge employees are having 15-minute interviews with federal employees to justify their existence before determining if they should be fired. Down below, what would you say you do here? This is classic Office Space joke. Absolutely love this meme. People getting fired. We need to do the same thing in Canada, don't we? I like this one. Trying to figure out which part of the scientific method involves blind trust and the ability to question. This one's hit me, and we're going to get into this topic when it comes to our politics tonight, because as the polls have shifted, or at least they've appeared to have shifted, guys, it's all part of their plan. Don't buy into the polls. Polls don't mean anything. But those who are supporting the Liberals, those who are supporting multiple different parties right now, I often question, why aren't we questioning the government? Why are so many people willing to just accept anything they say and just gobble it up? I like this one. If we can just get through this month, we only have one more month to go through before we get through another month. That seems to be the way everybody's riding the whole Justin Trudeau train right now. While he is allegedly on his way out March 9th, I'm not going to say he's out until he actually leaves, until it's done and it's official. But this is kind of how it's felt, isn't it? We got to get through this month. We only have one more month to go before we need to get through another month. Ain't that the truth? This one I like. It's good old Peter. Why are protesters burning the flag of our country they want to live in while waving the flag of the country they want to leave? Isn't that Canada in a nutshell right now? God, those bastards. When you look at that, it's somebody. Hang on. I see it in the chat here, James. Do you honestly expect a politician to tell you the truth? No, but I expect them to be accountable. Lee saying, I'm just worried about the people who don't know the polls are lies. Well, again, those are the people that we're going to talk about tonight. The people who don't question the government, the people who aren't questioning what the heck is going on here, that buy into this stuff so easily. I find it funny because I've been covering the polls for a couple of weeks now, saying how this is part of a psyop. People really don't like the word psyop. They say, it just sounds so conspiracy theorist. It sounds so out of left field. But this is all part of manipulation. If you look back, don't forget, just 3 years ago, we had Gestapo-style police marching our streets, shooting tear gas at Canadians, telling them, you're not allowed to protest. We're going to invoke emergency measures, which Mark Carney supported, by the way. And now he wants to bring in more emergency measures to deal with Donald Trump. Doesn't that scare everyone? Doc Luke, $4.99 super chat. From the American perspective, Canadian politics are boring. I understand, but right now, given what's happening between America and Canada, with the tariffs, with everything else, what Americans need to realize is that when you look at what happened with Joe Biden, when you look at Build Back Better, you look at how much Americans were suffering before Donald Trump came in, and keep in mind, he's only been in for a month, and he's draining the swamp. He is going to town on the American government. Canadians just want the same thing. We're demanding the same thing. We're in the same spot, same boat. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Totally agree with you that Canadian politics are getting boring. They're getting a little dull. In fact, it's hard because there's a lot of American things I want to cover, and I can't, because as soon as you get out of that algorithm, YouTube stops pushing your videos. People don't get the information they need when it comes to the important news. Not saying American news isn't important, but when you live in Canada, they kind of want you to cover Canadian stuff. I've got a lot of questions when it comes to what's happening in the federal liberal, robust leadership debate. Chrystia Freeland, of course, being lambasted for calling out for Canada to become a new world order. I don't know if you guys missed that. Of course, her bullshit story about talking to a 4-year-old girl who said, can you save us from Donald Trump? Who is teaching politics to their 4-year-old girl? What 4-year-old knows anything about politics? There's two things happening here. Either the story is completely fabricated, which I personally believe, or parents are totally indoctrinating their kids beyond belief with Orange Man bad. Paul, I can't post that comment. Let's get into Bayless did the better part of the flaky debate. See, I didn't bother watching it. Bayless was the clear front runner, but Bayless is just like the rest of them, guys. This is all a setup. It's all a setup. This is all for Mark Carney. This is his inaugural placement into politics. Keep in mind, it's the guy who said he didn't want to be a politician. But now you've got polls coming out saying the Liberals are gaining, the Conservatives are dropping. There's many things I'm going to try to reiterate to people to keep calm about this, because a lot of people worried about the polls. Keep in mind that usually they only survey about 1,000 people in these polls, and they're usually running demographics where they want to get a certain favorable vote, so to speak. In fact, I've been called before by live people, not from India, that call me to do a survey about my political stance and ask questions about the Canadian government for me. And they say, we're conducting a survey for polling stations. And as soon as I say I'm voting Conservative, they say, we're sorry, we don't think you're going to fit the framework for this poll. They let me go. They don't continue the questions. They want favorable results. They've promised whoever's paying for these polls favorable results. It's all put in place to make you worry. It's all put in place so that the sheep of Canada buy into the narrative and say, oh, geez, well, if the polls are pointing towards people forgiving the Liberals after 10 years of bullshit, and if they're going to jump on the old Mark Carney train, I should too. That's all this is. It's a test. We were tested 3 years ago, technically 5 years ago, to see how many of our civil liberties we were prepared to give away. And of course, Canadians folded like a cheap deck of cards. We said, you need more government powers? Take them away. You want to lock us in our home? Go ahead. You want to arrest people for going to visit family members at Christmas? Please do. Open up snitch lines. Let's throw people in jail just for wanting to see their families. Let's put on plastic suits so we can hug our grandchildren. Right? I have said it a million times on stream before. I am so shocked at just how stupid the world got during those couple of years. And just how easy it was in Canada for the government to march in and say, we need more power. And the people say, sure, go ahead. It's yours. Enjoy it. Anybody else shocked at how easy we gave that up? I mean, I talked to some Americans, especially people who lived in Florida, who said, yeah, COVID was a couple of weeks. It didn't last very long. The stores were back open. People were shopping. I mean, they told you if you wanted to wear a mask, you could, but a lot of people didn't. Canada was, it was something out of a sci-fi movie. It was something out of an alternate universe in my mind. It was something I never thought in a million years would happen to our country. One of the things I've always questioned during that time is the politics that were played, even by the PPC and Max, who showed up at the Freedom Convoy rallies, never to be seen again. Pierre, who supported the truckers, then he didn't support the truckers, then he ran for leadership and supported the truckers, then he didn't support the truckers. There's a lot of things that went on during that time that made me question government. As we go into this federal election, people are not stupid. They're not buying the narrative of what's going on. I want to show you guys a video. Good old Karina Gould. I know people hate her, but Juno News posting this one, Kean Bexty's new news outlet. F the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party will not solve Canada's problems. A heckler interrupts Karina Gould during her presser in Ottawa. Let's take a listen. Take a listen to this one. You can hear it faintly in the background, so keep your ears open, folks.
Let's increase the first-time homebuyers incentive from 5 to 10% to 50% so that they can actually get in and then they can buy back their equity over time or sell it back to the government.
So first off, hang on. Before this heckler gets in, I want to chime in on that. First-time homebuyers program so they can buy back their equity or sell it back to the government. What purpose does the government have in owning your property? Has anybody heard anything so stupid in their lives? You've got the chance to buy back the equity. Part of equity means that when you buy a home, you're paying down your debt in order to raise your own equity. Why is the government taking it? Why is the government making housing so unaffordable that they're the ones alongside the banks that are laughing all the way to the races? I'm going to remind people because, listen, I'm in the middle of the house purchasing process, and I'll tell you right now, people waited for rate cuts. People were waiting across the board. All throughout October, November, December, as Bank of Canada slashed rates. Guess what, folks? The banks haven't lowered their rates by jack. You know why? Because they don't care. They don't care. I left the housing market in October, took a break, and came back to it in the early spring and spoke with my bank a few weeks ago to get the pre-approval process running again and said, okay, so what is the interest rate at now? Because I know there's been 3 corrections in the interest rate through the Bank of Canada since we pulled out of the market. They said, oh, it's the same rate as last time. Sorry, what? It's the same rate? And they said, yep, nope. The Bank of Canada lowered rates, but the banks just aren't following suit. Why not? That's the whole reason people were waiting. People can't afford their homes. This is all part of the system's plan to make you dependent on the government, to make you sit back and say, well, I need government handouts. I need bailouts. Well, Karina Gould, boy, doesn't that face speak a million words? People are saying hide Gould. Isn't this the face she's probably made for the last few years in order to keep her job? Gross. Little joke there, folks. Just got to get a joke in there. But let's continue with her after saying people should buy back their equity from the government
when they sell their house. So I'm putting forward a bold, ambitious plan on housing that is actually going to solve the housing crisis.
The Liberal Party has Canada for the last 10 years.
Of the housing crisis.
I want you guys to watch it because they said it there. Listen to this. Watch the background here.
The Liberal Party has Canada for the last.
Right there. You see the cop? You see the cop? This is, again, going in on free speech. You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to scream. Can't scream at a politician. You can't tell them how you really feel because here comes a cop to say, hey, you're being disorderly. You can't do that in public. You can't yell like that. It's hate speech. Right? Now, I know that's not what's going to happen. They're going to go over there and just say, be quiet. But when you see the cop walk straight through the shot, doesn't it? Yeah, John's saying cops going in for the beatdown. I mean, it's hilarious that this guy starts screaming dismay at the government and immediately the police jump in to protect them. Where are the police protecting us, by the way?
Liberal Party has Canada for the last 10 years.
Sorry? For people that are supporting the other candidates, why should you be a second pick on their ballot?
Yeah, well, first of all, I hope you choose me as your first choice. But, you know, I am very excited to be in this race, and I am putting forward bold ideas for our country. And I'm somebody who can bring a different demographic.
She looks like the poster child for celibacy, doesn't she? Absolutely horrifying. I pity the man who has to go home to that every night. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean, but could you imagine? Could you imagine having to deal with that? Gearhead, hang on, the stream, I'm lagging out again. Are you guys... What is going on with my internet connection? Are you guys still getting stream? Hang on. If you guys are still getting stream, I hope so. My screen is frozen, so just give me a second. Hang on. Oh, did we stop? I hope the stream's still going on. Is the stream still going? You guys are still here? Okay. Hang on, guys. It's okay. All right, you're good here. Good. Okay, it froze for me. It keeps freezing for me. Totally apologize, guys. This is the joys of being on YouTube, isn't it? You'll notice Karina said in her speech, she doesn't care who wins the leadership race. She's just excited to be there. Again, we've said from day one, and when we showed Chrystia Freeland's funding records the other day, her donations. I know I made a mistake calling out the March vote. Guys, it was a bad day. No sleep. A lot going on at the Fringe residence. I apologize. They're all in this to set up Mark Carney. This isn't about them winning. This is about them installing Mark. I want to bring back in the screen here. Because with everybody, you remember a while ago we talked about liberal leadership memberships. We were telling people to go in and vote for the Liberals. Vote for the stupidest Liberal. Of course, we've seen Chandra Arora got kicked out. Ruby Dahlia has been kicked out. Again, with no real reason. They just, well, we don't like that you're running against Mark Carney. It has to be Mark Carney. My good friend of the channel, Maya Bradshaw. If you don't follow Bradshaw on Twitter, take a listen to what she has to say here. I'm going to minimize this a bit just so you guys can see. talking about trying to get into the Liberal race to confirm her identity. We talked about this before, that her identity anybody's ID must be confirmed in order to vote. That was part of the process. Now, a lot of other places were saying, well, this is interfering with democracy by getting Liberal Party memberships. Look at what they're doing now. And you tell me if we have a democracy.
Hi, my fellow Canadians and Americans, my loud fringe Albertans. Well, the Liberals are out in full force because starting today, you can cast your vote for the next Liberal leader. So they're reminding everyone, registered Liberals, which I am, it's time to vote for our next Liberal leader. Check your email to cast your ballot. And if you haven't verified your identity just yet, get started. And you click on the link. So then I had still not received an email. So I clicked on the link. I said, and it goes, confirm your eligibility and get your verification instructions at there. Click on the link. And then I clicked on request my voter ID. I put all my information in. I've been waiting about an hour, but I still have a black screen. Am I disqualified from voting now because they know I'm not voting for Mark Carney? Seems that way. And I'm not the only one that's getting the black screen. So it's very, very interesting. They want you to vote, but only if you vote for Mark Carney. Nothing suspicious here.
This is alarming. Really alarming. That it's essentially, again, we knew this from the beginning. I saw it in the comments. The minute Justin Trudeau said, we're going to do a very robust process to finding a new leader, it's going to be free and fair. Why would anybody say those words if they weren't planning to screw around with what's going on, just like they've done with everything else? Is anybody else shocked? Anybody else shocked? Mark saying there's only one reason you would allow people to vote online. Well, they're not voting online. So what they have to do is verify their identification in order to vote. And here it is. I seen somebody ask me this in a video today. What can we do about it? That's the question. This is where I've said we have to start asking our government who's incoming. Because let's be honest. I talked today, and a lot of people, God, it made some people mad because recently some other videos had come out from other content creators talking about the very subject I was talking about today in terms of Justin Trudeau working for a think tank after he leaves government, about how Mark Carney is getting in here to essentially put the squeeze on other companies to invest in his portfolio through his corporations that own stock in different pipelines and coal mining plants. A lot of people saying, hey, you took that straight from Jasmine Lane. I agreed with Jasmine Lane's subject. And unfortunately, folks, while we have similar opinions, part of the reason I cited an article and brought it into play was because I think it's important for that information to get out there. So people can call that whatever they want to. We were supposed to have Jasmine Lane on the channel, actually, and talk about things like that. But I agree with her that I think that things are starting to get risky, that this is all tied to money. If you follow the money, if you follow what's happening in the government, it's all tied to money. It's not as cut and dry as the WEF or secret plans or globalization. This is all about getting rich and destroying the country off the backs of the taxpayer. At least that's the way it's painted. I'm not denying the WEF. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm not saying that they don't have their own agendas or their own priorities. They're all billionaires. How else do you complete globalization? By making the rich richer. It's all part of the plan. What we have to start doing is we have to start questioning our representatives. We have to start saying, look, if you're going to be the next leader, like Pierre Poilievre, if you want to be the next leader of Canada, if you want my vote, because remember, when the election comes around, folks, wherever you live in the country, you're not voting for Pierre Poilievre. You're voting for your MP in your area. And once they get elected, those are votes toward Pierre Poilievre. The seats are what matters. So you have to start asking your backbench MPs or your frontbench MPs, whoever your MP is, what are you doing to get my vote? What legislation are you introducing so that we have more power the next time a government wants to step in and globalize our country, take our country over, leave the gates open and let people flood inside? What are you doing to change that? If they don't give you an answer, slam the door in their face, hang up the phone. Tell them, call me back when you've got a plan, and we'll talk about the vote if I'm going to give it to you. That's what they need to start hearing. These people are just like Jagmeet Singh. They all want their pensions. They all want their golden ticket. They want to keep their job. They are unemployed if you don't vote for them, and they're going to be puckering up come the next federal election. The biggest problem I've got is that when you look at Pierre right now, when you look at attacking Donald Trump, I don't agree with it. I don't think he should be attacking Donald Trump. In fact, he should be the one opposing everyone who is attacking Donald. He should get on some younger YouTube channels, get the youth vote like Donald did during his campaign. He could take a page out of Donald's book and learn a thing or two if he's worried about the polls. Now, I've reached out to Pierre's people multiple times since bringing up these points, and each time I've spoken with his number two, I'm told, don't worry, we've got it under control. They don't care. Pierre should fire everyone who's in charge of his campaign, because whatever path they're leading him down right now is a very, very crappy path. It's going to lead to a lot of pissed off people, even if he gets voted in. I miss old Pierre, pre-conservative leadership Pierre. I want somebody who isn't afraid to question the government, who isn't afraid to stand by the law, who isn't afraid to open up the books and say who's got their hands in the cookie jar. I'm excited for Pierre to be prime minister. But what I'm starting to see, if he doesn't change his path, he needs to change direction if he wants support from all Canadians, not just conservative Canadians. If he wants that vote, he needs to switch gears, and he needs to do it quickly. Because Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, they're all talking about fighting Trump. And when you go against Trump derangement syndrome in cities like Toronto, Scarborough, where those votes really matter to deciding who runs the next country. I understand there's a game to be played. I understand Pierre's pandering in order to get those people over to vote for him who don't like Donald Trump. I get that there's a strategy. But I want to show you guys something that's got me concerned now. His biggest supporters are starting to turn away. Tamara Leach tweeted this out, replying to Pierre's tweet. Pierre tweeted, Trump wants our jobs. Carney's carbon tax on Canadian industry will help Trump take them. If Carney wins, Canada loses. Sign here to fire the Liberals. Tamara tweeted out, Trump wants our jobs. This is a disappointing take from you and your team. Trump wants border security to prevent substances and terries from entering the country. You're starting to sound like all the rest of them, and it's not a good look. Now, why am I referring to Tamara's tweet? Well, it sparked an article to cover by the Western Standard. They're looking at the polls and they're starting to worry that things aren't going so good for Pierre anymore. That people are starting to wake up and they're starting to say, enough is enough. We're not buying what he's selling anymore. He's just like the rest. Again, I will be voting for Pierre. I'm giving him my vote. I think out of all of the options present right now for a future government, he is the best option. I don't think there's any debating that. If you live in Canada and you want to be able to afford your bills, you want to be able to live, you want to see change, you're hoping that he's a man of his word, I can guarantee you I'll hold him to account. I guarantee you just about everybody on this in this community would hold him to account. Brenda saying Tamara's right. Yeah, I don't blame her for having that opinion. People are looking at the pandering going on. People are looking at the game being played, and it's making them sick because they're playing the same game. I've said this before, that when you work in politics, when you work in any job, when you have goals in life, when you want to get somewhere in life, there's a time and a place to play fair. There's a time and a place to do the right thing. But once in a while, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get something done, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to fight dirty. Beat them at their own game. I wish to God Pierre's people would change tracks. I don't understand. But I also, so what I have to say about that too is that I'm not around there 24/7. I don't know the strategies they're discussing. I don't know their plans. Hopefully they've got a plan. But what I'm seeing, if we are to believe the polls, which again, I don't, I believe it's all part of a psyop to boost Carney the same way Kamala did in the United States. Next thing Carney will have a whole bunch of celebrities endorsing him. Maybe, I don't know. But what I have to look at when you start to take that in is that we're done with the slogans. We're done with that same speech over and over again. We want some change. We want somebody who's just as fed up as we are, somebody who's willing to take the reins and say no more for this country. If Pierre wants to talk about Canada first, that should be his entire push right now. He's doing good talking about pipelines, talking about jobs, talking about reinvigorating the economy. Those are all great things. But what he should be showing, what he should be doing right now is pointing out Ruby Dahlia and saying they threw her out because she was beating Mark Carney. These other people who are contending against him are in it for him to win. It's a one-sided competition. They're installing a leader. He should be using that corruption to his advantage, to put them on display, to say, are you really prepared to vote for somebody who has to cheat their way into the public office, into the prime minister's chair? That's who you want running the country, a guy who has to cheat? He can't get votes. He can't even get more than 100 viewers on a live stream. We've outdone Mark Carney's viewers on this live stream. That's who's going to run the country? A guy who can't even keep the attention of people? Come on. Pierre should be using those weapons to his advantage. And if people want to compare him to Trump, I said it in the last live stream, he needs to start asking them, is that so bad? What's Donald Trump doing in the United States that's terrible right now? What's he doing that's bad for his people, for American citizens? Tell me one thing he's done that's terrible. I just don't understand why people, again, just are so quick to say, well, we'll just vote for Mark Carney. Everything Pierre is saying is 1,000% better than what the NDP Liberals are saying. Yeah, it is, but that's like comparing, a half-cooked burger to a cat turd. Neither of them look appealing, but one's better than the other, like that's the problem here. I want okay, let's put this in a better light, a better spin for you guys. When you look at Danielle Smith, and I see it anytime we make a video about her. I see it every time we talk about Danielle. Anytime we've had her on the channel, people say, God bless Danielle Smith. She says it like it is. She's not afraid to insult people. She's not afraid to stand up and say what needs to be said. She stands up for Alberta. She stands up for her people. Now, there are people who believe, hey, she's got a screw loose. She's not doing her job properly. That's fine. You're going to have people who don't like you in any job that you do, especially in the public eye and when you're in the government. But when people look at Danielle Smith and you look at the way she presents herself, the way she talks, the way she pushes herself forward, that's what we want from Pierre. You have to be the pinnacle of all the options out there, not just slightly better. There has to be no doubt amongst the Canadian people that you're the man for the job. And that you're not buying into the rhetoric, that you're not buying into the bullshit, that you're not going to accept the way the Liberals are running politics right now. We haven't even had the government working in almost 9 months. Isn't that terrible? I've asked the question before that if we've gone almost 9 months without government, what do we really need them for? Wouldn't it just be better to have provinces take care of the country? Mark saying Danielle's smarter than any of them? I mean, I would think so. Okay, so Pierre's not slightly better. He's 100,000 times better. But how? How is he better? Because when you talk about, and guys, I got to be a little unfair here. When you look at Justin Trudeau dressing up in costumes and you look at him going places to pander and doing his little dances and things like that, how many times have you seen Pierre in costumes? Wearing saris and going places and praying and pandering to the woke ideologies. If I was a believer in any one of those faiths, I'm just saying this as a personal opinion. I'd be insulted if somebody who didn't practice what I believe in walked in and pretended to in order to secure votes. I'd be pissed off. I'd be insulted. I'd be saying, what, like, just come in here and tell me you care about us. You don't have to pander. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to put on the get up and pretend to give a shit. Just tell me what you're going to do to fix my country. Tell me what you're going to do to make my life better, and be a man of your word. You don't have to put on the costume. You don't have to do the whole dance. I haven't seen Donald Trump do any of that. I've seen Donald Trump go to different events. I've seen him recognize everybody. I've seen him applaud people and say that people are great, they're fabulous, that he loves those people. I've never once seen him put on a costume or a getup. I've never seen him pander. I've never seen him bend the knee for votes. Do you know why America voted for him? Because he spoke the truth and he said what everyone's thinking and a lot of people were afraid to say. And he said to the American people, you put me in that office, you're going to see change. You're going to see all of this corruption go out the window. And Americans said, I think I like the sound of that. They put him in office, and bingo, within even a month of him getting in there, they've already uncovered, what, $150 billion of government waste, and it's still going. They want to go into Fort Knox. They want to dismantle the entire system. How great is that? That's what Pierre should be doing. If he wants Canadians to get behind him, to start saying, look, we waste billions of dollars with NGOs, with nonprofit organizations, with all of these different outlets. Like, there's billions of dollars going out. We're funding forever wars in Ukraine and Gaza and everywhere else. We're going to start Canada first, shut down the border, put that money back into Canada. Let's grow jobs. Let's grow infrastructure. Let's automatically approve pipelines. Let's put through different and if other provinces don't want to work with us, that's fine. You don't have to. We'll build around you, and you can stop taking payments from us. No problem. You either work with us or you don't get the benefit. That's it. That's what you need, is somebody who's harsh, who's crude, who's ready to go in and talk business. You have to treat the country like a business, not like a mafia. And you got to go in and say, I don't care who I upset here or who I offend. I'm not here for business, like to represent businesses. I'm here to represent the people that gave me a 4-year mandate. And I guarantee you, where we have no term limits in Canada, you get a guy like that in office, he won't need a second sit. For as long as that guy was doing his job, he'd be welcomed by the Canadian people, or she. That's what we need. Snatch saying, don't forget to shut down the NGO money farm. Well, that's part of what I'm talking about. That if you had somebody who came in and said, yeah, let's get rid of all that funding, all that waste. Stop giving money to municipalities that want to waste money and spend it all on nonsense like artwork and public NGOs that suck up all the money. Get efficiency experts in there to start thinking about, where do we put the money and how is it best used and utilized? How does it benefit people? I'm going to use Calgary as an example because I saw it this afternoon. There are 11 different nonprofits that work in Calgary to battle homelessness. And today, as I drove downtown to pick up Mrs. Fringe, I see a bunch of people downtown feeding the homeless. Guess what? None of them are with those NGOs. They're public. They're churches. They're people that aren't funded by the municipality out there on the streets feeding the homeless. Why? Because none of these NGOs are. They're just fat bureaucrats sitting in an office with their thumbs up their ass, taking their free payday on the Canadians' dime. So why are we wasting our money there? Why are we sending billions overseas to launder in forever wars? Justin Trudeau wants to send your children to die in the Ukraine. Are we supposed to be okay with that? When do we as a country start saying, hey, we're kind of screwed here. We're not sending anybody else out until you start fixing the problems at home. We're not giving away any more money until you start fixing your problems here. Take care of your own house. I've always put an analogy on it that look, as a family man, while I have these arcades behind me, if I came home and Mrs. Fringe and I were living check to check, and I went out to get groceries, and I came home and told my wife, Well, I bought another arcade machine. Believe me, it's happened. Not in this set of rules or extent, not this negatively, but I bought another arcade machine. She says, well, where's the groceries? Well, I decided not to buy the groceries, or I bought like a fraction of the groceries because I wanted the arcade machine. But look, it makes everybody so happy. She'd kill me. She'd say, buy the groceries first. And if we have money left over to put in other places, then we do that. That's the way your country needs to be run. Clean your house first, then help everybody else. I just am so sick and tired that potentially the reason people are having fatigue with Pierre is because while he's starting to sound like the rest of them, and this is where it's going to damage him. I'm not saying that my view of him has been damaged, but where I'm seeing people like Tamara, like others, and I see it all over social media, and where some of these polls might be starting to get a little bit accurate, is that if he continues to talk like everybody else, how do you think the public are going to see him? Just like everyone else. Same government, different color. They're going to do the same things. They're going to perform the same skeevy acts. They're just going to get rid of one tax and replace it with another. They're just going to waste money on different things other than this party. It's just for their friends and not for the liberals. That's the way people will see it. And how do you think that's going to bode for him during election season? Can we get government? Can we get the money from the government to count fish farts? Well, anything's possible these days. No, James, I don't believe the fake polls. But what I'm saying is that people are starting to get fatigue. They're getting Pierre fatigue because he's starting to have similar talking points to the liberals. And it's just the same speech over and over. Go and watch Pierre's speech. Go to his YouTube channel. Watch any of his speeches. He had a really good speech when he got all pumped up during his Bring It Home rally in Ottawa. We streamed it. People were saying that stream was a 5 out of 10. And then as soon as he pumped up and started going back to the way he used to be and talking strong, people said, hey, it's an 8, it's a 9. Much better stream now, much better speech from Pierre. That's what Canadians want. But if you go through all of his videos, all of his press conferences, all of the times he's acknowledging what the liberals are doing, it's the same recycled speech over and over and over. I'm not interested in Pierre's attacking BS of Trump. Nobody is. Nobody is. Let's see what Celtic Canuck has to say. He needs to be willing to take the risk. That's the problem. And this is where, you know, when I was invited out to Parliament Hill in 2023, I'll tell you, I came home and my wife was like, I can't believe you just went to the House of Commons and met everybody. Like, you got to sit down and chat with people. Melissa Lantzman phoned her on FaceTime and wanted to meet my kids and everything else. She says, what was it like? How great was it? And I said to her, you know what? It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And the one thing I always told my wife is that it was kind of like the Wizard of Oz. You know, you have this vision of the Emerald City, and then you walk in and you see the big machine that's working in front of you, and someone pulls back the curtain, and you get a good look at who's running that machine. My view of how government works drastically changed after I was invited into the House of Commons. Again, that isn't to say I don't support the government. It's not to say that I don't believe Pierre can bring change, but I'll tell you, it definitely changed the way that I look at things. It definitely changed the way that I see government. It's starting to make me question how many of them are actually in it for change and how many of them are in it for the same reasons Jagmeet Singh is. How many of them are in it for a pension? How many want a free ride? Retire at 50 and never work again? Wouldn't that be nice for everybody in this room watching this stream? If you could just never work again at 50? Your mortgage is paid, your bills are paid, a pension comes in every month, you're looked after, your kids are looked after, your grandkids are looked after, your investment portfolios are booming, you've never had to go check to check. Master Snipe saying we want Pierre to be our prime minister. The general worries that he's sounding a lot like the Liberals in his response to potential relationship with the United States. That's where he's got to shift gears. He's got to get off it. He's got to move forward. He's got to start saying enough is enough. Look, I've said it before. Words matter right now. And he could still have an aggressive stance against Trump. I mean, let's be honest. Trump is a businessman. He's a ruthless businessman. You don't want to bend the knee and say, hey, we just want to find a way to work with the guy. We'll do whatever it takes. That's desperation. That's the same thing Trudeau did when he went down to Mar-a-Lago and showed Donald Trump our cards. What Pierre should be saying, and I'll say it again, I know people are going to say, dude, you're like Pierre, you're a broken record. I said it flat out a couple times. He should say, I am willing to negotiate with Donald Trump. I am willing to work with Donald Trump to find a deal that suits both Canadians and Americans to help bring jobs to Canada while also keeping jobs in the United States. They're one of our greatest trading partners, and we should respect that, and we should respect each other. However, if Donald wishes to be unreasonable and does not wish to negotiate practicality or things that make sense, we will have no other choice than to push back on his threats and tell him that we mean business. There's nothing wrong with taking that stance because you're saying that you want to work with the man. You're willing to work with him. You're willing to work if it makes sense. And if you're going to get pushed around by a bully, then you're going to bully back. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'd respect Pierre a lot more if he talked like that. I think that's the best way forward. And that's just me. United States is $200 trillion in debt. Well, I'd hate to see what Canada's in debt for. I mean, did you guys see Donald Trump announced today he's waiting until April now? Every month it's, we're going to give it another month and we'll bring in the tariffs. We'll bring them in later. I think what he's waiting for is an actual leader to emerge in Canada. I think he's waiting for somebody to get elected and for Parliament to go back. So at least he can talk to somebody. See where negotiations get. So at least he has somebody to blame. He's trolling to make the Liberals panic. See, I get these all the time. I think you're misreading Pierre. So Mike, I'm not going to pick you apart. How am I misreading Pierre? How do you feel I'm misreading Pierre? How should I be looking at it? I'm open to this. Somebody tell me what's better for our situation. And again, I'm not crapping on you. I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you feel that way, because believe I see this all day long in the comment. Don't say nothing nasty about Pierre. Don't rock the boat. Don't push Pierre. You sound like we should vote Liberal, says Kathy. But Kathy, was everybody out of the room when I said I'm voting for Pierre? I'm still voting for Pierre. Do you guys not want more from your leaders? Do you not want more from them, more accountability? Do you not want them to take a stance? Does it not scare you that Pierre's more worried about pandering to certain demographics to get votes than by standing by his beliefs and saying what he thinks and what he means? He's muffling himself. Doesn't that concern anybody here if you're giving him your vote? And I'm asking an honest question. I'm not belittling anybody or trying to make you feel stupid. I'm asking a serious question. Who do you want representing you? Do you want somebody who stands behind their core beliefs? Or do you want somebody who's going to do whatever they need to tell you in order to make you happy? Because you can have one or the other, but you can't have both. And I'm serious, and I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm not trying to tell people they're wrong. No, don't go and vote Liberal. If you vote Liberal, what are you doing here watching the stream? Don't go and vote Liberal. But what I'm saying is that Pierre used to show the characteristics of a strong leader. And then as soon as he kind of got into campaign mode, as soon as like mid 2024, he all of a sudden, like around summertime, he all of a sudden got serious. And it was, I'm going to be selective who I talk to. I'm going to stop my members from talking to certain news groups or people or outlets. Only approved things go out. And people can say, well, that's for security reasons. That's because they don't want, things getting muffled around. I understand all of that. But all of a sudden, there were people telling Pierre how to dress, how to look. He got rid of the glasses, the curl in the hair thing, the slogans, this is what you have to realize is what you're seeing from Pierre isn't Pierre. This is people controlling him, telling him, here's what to say, here's what to believe, here's what the demographics tell us, here's where you need to pick up votes, here's what the people who live in those areas think about certain topics, here's where you have to side if you want to get those votes. It's all strategy. It's part of the dance. It's part of the game. So what I'm asking you is, why can't we have somebody who looks at that and plays it smart rather than saying, I'll pander just to make people happy and get the votes? You can have both. You can say, I'm going to appeal to that demographic, but I'm not going to censor myself. I'm not going to stop saying what I think needs to be done. I'm not going to completely change who I am in order to win an election. All Pierre has to do is be Pierre, and people will vote for him. I would fire his party, not Pierre. I would fire the people in charge of his campaign because they're doing a terrible job. If his polling is going down, if the polls weren't biased and if the polls weren't being generated to support Mark Carney, that would be an immediate red flag for me to look at my political team and say, you guys are doing something wrong if I'm losing that much of a gain. We need to switch it up. That right there, we will want a Pierre that doesn't listen to his image consultants. That's what I'm saying. You want somebody who's going to actually like, look, guys, I don't want people to get mad and think that I'm shitting all over their choice for government. I'm not. I believe I'm not. I'm with you in this. But I feel like I'm in the boat that I think most of you are in, where we've been through 10 years of shit. We've been through 10 years of being told, no, you're not allowed to have success. You're not allowed to save. You're not allowed to invest. You're not allowed to buy groceries. You're not allowed to fill your car with gas. You're not allowed to buy a new vehicle. You're not allowed to go on a vacation. You're not allowed to get on a plane unless you get our permission. You're not allowed to go see your family unless we say so. You're not allowed to afford groceries. You're not allowed to put your kids in sports. You're not allowed to retire. We are allowed to do all of those things because we're better than you. That's what we've lived for the last decade. And I don't know about you guys, but I am sick and tired of it. I am so sick and tired of living like that. I am so fed up being told no all the time, being told that my life is never going to get any better no matter how hard I work, no matter how hard I try. And when you go to your boss and say, hey, I've been here for a long time, food's so expensive, gas is expensive, my utilities are expensive, I need a raise. My wage doesn't meet the cost of living. And they say, now's not really a good time. Where are we supposed to get ahead? One person isn't going to fix that. If we Canadians, somebody asked early in the stream, what can we do? You can get on the backs of those who want your vote in the next election. You can make their life very difficult for the next 6 months and tell them you need to hustle if you want my vote. You've got to show me what you're ready to do, not just say it. I want results. If you want to represent me, you're going to have to work your ass off to get my vote. Everyone should be saying that to all of their constituents. And I'll tell you right now, if I lived in Pierre's riding and he came to my door and said, well, I want to axe the tax, I want to stop the crime, all doing good, Pierre. You know what I want you to do? I want you to be a human being for 5 minutes and relate and resonate with the common people. Start talking like you're one of us. I know you live in a nice house. I know you make a very wealthy paycheck. I know you do very well for yourself, but you need to start identifying with the rest of us. You need to be human. Not a puppet, not somebody controlled by your glamour cops. It's only going to get you so far. If you want to represent Canadians, start talking like one. Start living like one. Start pushing policies that benefit the Canadians that are fed up with 10 years of abuse. Abuse. If you guys don't think this was abuse over the last 10 years, 2020 to 2023 especially, physical, mental abuse. People died alone because of our government. And one guy comes strolling along and says, well, I'm the best of the worst. And everyone says, well, we should give him a fair shake. Instead of saying, we need to grind an axe on this guy to make sure he doesn't do what the rest of them do. We can't be easily dragged into this and fooled again. This is our moment. This is our opportunity, folks, as a country, to start asking these questions, just like I asked earlier in this stream. You guys just took the last 9 months off. Why do we need you? Why are we paying you all this money? Why are we broke while you guys are living the high life, jetting all over the country, going to events, going to conferences, going to summits, traveling all over Canada, campaigning, doing your little pressers? Why are we paying for all of that if we can function without you? What do we need you for? Those are the questions we should be asking. Was it a Janet Jackson song back in the 80s? What have you done for me lately? I don't know, guys. I just don't understand. Like, again, I like Pierre. I want Pierre. I'm happy the day he comes in. But if we don't start pushing back a bit, you know what happens when he gets in? You get comfortable. You say, I got 4 years. Just get rid of their tax, get rid of their crime, get rid of the red tape, do some great things to benefit people. If you think Pierre's not going to do something that's going to piss you off eventually, buckle up. And if you say, oh, Derek, you just hate on Pierre, what government has done everything they've said they're going to do perfectly without making anybody mad? Somebody point that out to me and I'll immediately apologize. And I've been voting since I was 18. I'm telling you, they all disappoint in some way, shape, or fashion. And you're just being facetious if you think otherwise. I want Canadians to look at the last 10 years and say, never again. Never again. Yes, Pierre, we want you to be our prime minister. But what are you going to do to make sure that never happens again? That the people who are in that House of Commons, the people who have the control over our lives, over our jobs, over our livelihoods, can't abuse us again. What are you doing to make sure we have power? That if you guys screw up, we can recall you. We can get you out of that office. I keep going back to it, but do you guys remember Garnet Jennis on the channel? When I asked him, Alberta just put in recall legislation. Why can't the federal government put in recall legislation? Would they ever consider that? And he huffed it off. He gave a huh. How dare you ask that question? Garnet Jennis is an asshole. He thinks he's above everybody. At least that's the impression I got when he was on this channel, chewing his gum in the middle of an interview. He thinks he's better than you. Again, he can prove me wrong anytime he wants, and I'll apologize. But the impression he gave me is that he doesn't give a shit about anybody. He's in his cushy job. I see it. Somebody said, wow, because I called out Garnet Jennis. I got sour news, guys. That's what we're going to have to start doing if we want these politicians to do their jobs. They're not royalty. They're not entitled to these jobs. They're representatives. That's all they are. They're just people in suits representing us. And the sooner we realize that, and the sooner we take back control of that, the sooner our lives are going to get a lot better. A lot better. Somebody can clip that and send it to Garnet Jennis too. I don't care. I don't care. Because you know what I'll tell Garnet Genis? I'm fed up. I've had enough. What have you done for me lately? You guys go make TikToks while Parliament's shut down? Good job. That's awesome. That's good. So glad my tax dollars are doing that. Did you guys not see our video this week showing Jagmeet Singh blowing $500,000 to look like a boxer? $500,000, guys. And he just got his pension, by the way. Anybody else sick of that? Anybody else fed up? Has anybody else said no more? I'm sick of this shit. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm eating freaking ketchup sandwiches for dinner while they're living the high life, while they can just, hey, I feel like spending $500,000 to make a video. Sure, here's your check, Jagmeet Singh. Go right ahead. You haven't worked in 9 months, but go right ahead and make a $500,000 video. Who the hell does he think he is? Who does any of them think they are? Any of them. They haven't worked since summer 2024. Why are we giving them a skate even if we want to vote for them? They should all be getting chewed out. And people say, Derek, well, the Conservatives have been fighting to go back. They just want to call an election. If the Conservatives stand with the Canadian people, tell them to stop taking their paycheck. Tell them to join the rest of us in poverty. Then I'll believe they give a shit. Ask them if they're going to take their pay raise in April. Ask the Conservatives that one, or the NDP, or the Liberals, or the Green Party, drunk Elizabeth May. Ask any of them. If you care about what Canadians are doing, if Jagmeet Singh cares about Canadian workers and how they're suffering, are you stopping your paycheck? Are you going to stop taking in your money, your finances? Donald Trump isn't taking a paycheck. Again, the only guy I know who's not. What about the rest of them in Canada? Has Pierre Poilievre stopped taking a paycheck? Is Pierre taking a raise come April 1st? This is where I say to everybody, you can like who you want to like and vote for who you want to vote for. And I agree with who everybody wants to vote for. But you have to hold them to the same standard that you're asking to hold Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, I almost said Duclos, Blanchette, all of them. You have to hold them to the same standard. You can't say, well, I hate Justin Trudeau, but I'll let Pierre skate because I like him. No. We're hypocrites if we do that. We're hypocrites if we allow one to skate just because, well, they're better than these guys. Demand more. You deserve it. This is where we're talking about people getting fed up and saying, I just don't buy the story anymore. That's why people are dropping on Pierre. Because they think that they're just getting a different brand of the same shit. It has to stop. We need a government that wants us independent like the USA. Well, getting away from the crown would be a nice thing. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. Look at this. Lay off Poilievre. He didn't create the pirogue. I'm not talking about the pirogue. I'm talking about the future of your life. You have to demand that he hold up to his promises. I think he's going to do okay. I think he's going to do a good job. But we want better. I don't want a few breadcrumbs. Yes, axe the tax. Lower my income taxes. Make food affordable. Get rid of provincial borders. When are any of them going to talk about auditing the government? When are any of them going to talk about getting rid of parliamentary privilege and throwing those corrupt bastards in jail? Justin Trudeau was allowed to use the Emergency Act on innocent Canadians. When are we going to start using emergency acts to lock up the crooks who have been stealing our tax dollars and laundering it to other countries across the world? Lay off Pierre. I haven't heard him mention that once. Why not? I'm demanding more. I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm saying that if you want to go up in the polls, you need to get tough on what Canadians want change for. You need to stand with the rest of Canada that says we've had enough of this shit and we're done. I'm not saying don't vote for him. I'm not saying don't bring him in. I'm saying demand better because your dollars pay their salaries. They're your representatives. I know it's going to anger people, but if you guys want to get mad at me for saying, hey, you know what, I've been abused for 10 years and I'm done, I'm sorry, I'm not sugarcoating it for you. I'd be doing you guys a terrible, terrible disservice if I sat here and puckered up like other people who pandered to Pierre and said, yeah, everything's great, sunshine and rainbows, guys. Everything's fantastic. I do think things will be better under Pierre. I am voting for Pierre. I do like Pierre. I like his policies. I don't like him bashing Trump. I think he needs to get off that if he wants to bring up his numbers. I hope he does. But I just want more from my government. Is that so terrible to ask for? Is it wrong to say, hey, I don't want liberal light. I just yeah, you're going to do some things that benefit me, but what are you doing when you're done that? That's the question I'm asking. Once you're done axing the tax, once you're done getting rid of the crime and everything else, what are you going to do then? What else are you going to do? Because my life sucks. I don't know about you guys, but outside of YouTube, my life sucks. My kids want to do things, and I got to tell them we can't afford that. Because the government takes 40% of my wife's check, and they blow it for Jagmeet Singh to go film a $500,000 boxing video. So yeah, I think I got a right to be pissed off and to say I'm demanding better. I don't just want some handouts. I want better. I want my power back. If I'm paying you, I want the ability to fire you. Doesn't that sound fair? If my tax dollars are paying your salary, I should have the right to fire you if you're not doing your job. They're giving it to warmongering cartels. Well, I like Pierre's stance on the substances that are killing people. I like his stance on deportation, the crime, the interprovincial trade, all that stuff. I stand behind all of that. Those are good starts. But it's very hypocritical to say I believe in ultimate change when these government workers are all sitting pretty since June without going to work. They're all getting their paychecks. None of the conservatives have stopped taking a payday to say we stand with Canadians. I think it would be a bold gesture if they did. If they said, you know what, we're fed up not working, so we're not going to take taxpayer money. How much do you think that would boost their numbers? If they said, we don't support this government that's attacking Donald Trump and delaying an election so that they can have a trade war with Donald Trump. So we're not going to take our paychecks because Canadians are losing their jobs. They're suffering. We're not going to suffer, or we're going to suffer with you. We're going to buy in. That's what has to happen. I think you'd see their numbers skyrocket because people would identify with them. People would say, wow, you know what? That's big of them to do that. That's really big of them to do that. At the very least, if they said, we're not going to take our pay raises come April 1st, we don't agree with it. Enough money has been wasted. How do you think that would benefit them? Kathy's saying monarchy is a little tougher. You need every province and territory to vote yes, then the cabinet yes, then the Senate pulling out of monarchy. Yeah, so there is a process to doing that. And again, I understand a lot of people want us to pull out of that. The likelihood of it is very small. And it's not because politicians are screwing it up. It's we got a really weird system and it would just be so convoluted to get out of that. Common sense, you're right. But that's what I'm saying is that if you're branding common sense, wouldn't it be great for them to stand? How much pay raise are they really getting in April? A couple $1,000? Like, wouldn't it be even 15 grand when you're only making $200,000 or $175,000 a year? Do you really need that extra 15 grand? It would be a huge gesture If the Conservative Party wanted to bring up their numbers, if they came in and said, hey, we're not taking our pay raises because you're all corrupt. You're all a bunch of gangsters. We're not doing this. Right? Like, that's all I'm saying is that start showing me you care about Canadians and not just little speeches. Show, don't tell. If we're all worried about Pierre's numbers, would that not help him? Love you guys. You're my amazing friends. Ingrid, thank you for the $2 super chat. We love you here too. Thank you for all your work as a mod. You guys are doing great. We stand a better chance of electing our Senate if they stop blocking Pierre. Well, again, but Kathy, those are the rules where I'm saying, again, those are the things we should be asking these Conservatives. We shouldn't be screaming at them, but we should be asking, like, why can't we change those rules? Why can't we get a government that wants to be elected, that wants to give that power back to people, where we choose the Senate, where we choose who represents us? We choose our government. It's only fair we be allowed to choose our senators. Government should not be allowed to install whoever is going to make their lives easier. That's cheating. It's corruption. Again, we've been abused for 10 years. What are you going to do to make our lives easier? And I'm not talking taxes being cut. I'm talking about what policies are you going to put in place so that I don't have to worry about Trudeau's son running 10 years from now and doing the same thing. That's all I want. When you talk about accountability, that's part of it. That's part of accountability, by saying, yeah, we're going to do things a little bit different because we can see that the system is flawed. We're going to represent you better. Mike TV Dub saying 59 more thumbs up for free memberships. Hit the like button. You guys, have we not hit the 500 likes yet? Probably not, because I'm sitting here complaining about Pierre. I know people are going to say, Derek, I wish you'd get off of him. I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm just asking for better. That's it. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's incorrect to ask for better. I pay my taxes every year. You guys pay your taxes every year. You should be doing the same. If you're going to have him be your next prime minister, don't you want the best? Don't you want him to want to do better for you? That's all I'm saying. He's been invisible. Pierre has been acting like a puppet. I don't think he's been acting like a puppet. I think that what's happened is that you've got, when you're the head of a party and you look at let's put it in a realistic perspective here so that people understand that, again, this will show I'm not badgering Pierre. The Conservatives have lost the last two elections. They had O'Toole and they had Andrew Scheer. Neither of them stood a chance of winning those elections because, for one, they were weak. Scheer didn't stand a snowball's chance in hell. Aaron O'Toole, the last name says it all. The guy has no presence, no charisma. He's a closet liberal. He had no business even in the Conservative Party. I don't know why he was running for Conservative Prime Minister. But nobody was going to vote for him, and that's exactly what happened. During a fear election during the pandemic, they've lost two elections. So essentially when Pierre gets in, he had the charisma, he had the staying power, he had the drive that Canadians had been requesting him run for a multitude of years. And he said, I'm having a family. I'm not going to just run and, ignore my family and miss family time with my kids. He also didn't run because he didn't see it as the right time. Now that he is running, I'll tell you, the day he announced he was running, I screamed to the heavens. I was so excited. I remember calling my brother because we were both watching politics at the same time, long before I was on YouTube. I said, can you believe it? He's actually going to run. He's going to do it. Isn't that great? We were excited. The problem, once you win that leadership race, once you get the job title of Leader of the Opposition, is that you're appointed a team of people who manage your interviews, who you talk to, what you say when you go places, your talking points, because that team studies, again, what districts you need to pick up votes from, what the age groups of the voters are in those districts, what they care about in their voting habits. And a lot of them, the problem right now is that, and we've talked about the different electoral districts in Canada, when you look at the per capita ratio as to who runs the country, he has to work in that bottom pocket of Ontario. And a lot of that is Toronto. A lot of Toronto hates Donald Trump. They've all got Trump derangement syndrome. So the problem is that Pierre's people come to him and say, okay, so these are our voters. They don't like Donald Trump. There's this whole tariff war going on. You're going to oppose Donald Trump. You're going to talk negatively about Donald Trump because it's going to boost your popularity with those parties, those people. You're going to go dollar for dollar on the tariffs. You're going to say this, that, and the other thing. Basically what we've gotten from now. It's not being a puppet per se, but it's people that study this for a living. They make their living doing this. They're hired to basically get you elected. Pierre has no choice but to listen to them. And I don't know how much he's obligated to keep them on board. But again, if I was looking at the results, if I was looking at the numbers, if they were to believe to be real, I'd be saying to my campaign team that clearly we're doing something wrong. And you guys got to figure out how we turn this around, or else I'm going to fire you and find somebody else. That's my advice. If Pierre had really sunk as much as they're claiming he's sunk, which again, I don't believe it, I don't buy it, I'd be firing them. I'd be saying, you clearly don't know politics. You don't know what we're doing. You're going to cost me the election. If I was in charge of Pierre's campaign tomorrow, if somebody asked me, hey, what does Pierre need to do to win this election, to get the numbers back? Go against Trump if you want to, but also say you're willing to work with him. Start pumping that up, that they're a trading partner. They're an important trading partner. Danielle Smith, again, is a prime example. She's come out saying Albertans don't want to separate. Albertans don't want to be the 51st state. We do want to work with America. People have asked her, what do you think about the 51st state idea? She's laughed at it and said, nah. We just want to work. We want to work with our trading partner. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with Donald Trump, but also saying we want to take care of Canada first. He can fight Trump, but he can also win this election. If you want to do that, do that. But I think he needs to get rid of his campaign team. I think he needs to start sitting down with independent personalities, get the youth vote like Trump did, try and get other people on board that normally wouldn't vote conservative, start going into riskier places to do that. Don't go on CTV, don't go on CBC, don't go on Global, don't just stick with, True North, because part of the problem with True North, I like True North. I'm friends with Andrew Lawton. I like the guy. Nothing but good things to say about him. The problem is Andrew Lawton ran to be an MP for the Conservative Party. So if you go on True North, you're automatically linked to the Conservative Party. Start going on some outlets. And I've said it before, go on the Pleb. Go on whoever. Go on whoever. Go on Clinton Jaws. Go on Jasmine Lane. Whoever. Go and talk to the people. Go talk to your base. Don't be afraid to speak up. Speak your mind. Be relatable. Be human. People are going to respect you a lot more for that, Pierre. And I know Pierre's people watch this channel. Marika says Moose on the Loose. Go on Moose on the Loose. True North is Juno now? Okay, either way. I'm saying don't just sit down with one of those outlets, because Pierre's been on True North a lot of times. And people say, well, Derek, Pierre went on Jordan Peterson. That's good, but start talking to somebody who's not as widespread as Jordan Peterson, somebody who has the base of your voters. Start resonating with Canadians and saying, I feel your pain. I know what you're going through. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to make it better. Just be human. The problem that I've been talking about tonight while I've been bitching and moaning about Pierre is that I'm talking about people aren't identifying with him anymore because he's coming off as another corporate shill. He's a good guy. I've met with him. I've talked with him. I've spent time around him. He's a nice guy. I like him. Show that, Pierre, to people. Show your human side. Carson gifting 10 Unacceptable Fringe memberships to the Patriots Club. Thank you so much for doing that. Welcome to all 10 of our new members in the Patriots Club. Nick Kirk saying, try and get him on here. So I've tried multiple times. I've talked to his people. I said, look, I'll give you the questions ahead of time. I'll work with you guys. I'll do whatever you want. And I've said it before. His number 2 told me we need to keep an arm's length from all of you. All you YouTubers. They mentioned the Pleb. They said that They've watched Sunshine Baby during question period. They've said that they keep an eye on this channel. They keep an eye on Moose on the Loose. They've watched a couple of channels. They resonate with those channels. They get their demographics from these channels. They know who we are, but he says we need to keep an arm's length distance from you guys. Why? They said, well, your channel's called Unacceptable Fringe. That's damaging to Pierre's brand. Okay, so go on the pleb. Go on with Moose on the Loose. Go on with Elevate Podcast. Go on with any of these guys. Start talking to your base. When I was writing my novel, before I got into politics, before I even made How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom, I wrote a novel that was kind of like a Harry Potter, but with superheroes. And I got a lot of advice from Stan Lee when he was alive. We've gone through the story before on how I met Stan and how I was invited into chatting with him. God rest his soul. He was an amazing man. But one of the stories he told me was, if you want to make a successful superhero, he said, part of the reason people like Spider-Man so much, I could even do it like Stan, part of the reason people like Spider-Man so much. Oh, geez. I do a terrible Stan Lee, but he said the reason people like Spider-Man was because he says Batman, Iron Man, their superpower is money. They've got money. People can't relate to that. That's why they made Tony Stark an alcoholic. That's why they made Bruce Wayne lose his parents. They wanted him to be identifiable in some way for people who have been experiencing those things. But he says with Spider-Man, he was a teenager who had acne. He couldn't hold a job. He was late with his dates. He let people down. He averted expectations. He struggled to pay his rent. He was relatable. So people buy that. That's why he's the number one selling superhero. Everybody can relate to Peter Parker. That's what Pierre needs to do in politics. Be human, be relatable, get on the side of your voting public and make them realize, hey, I understand I'm leader of the opposition. I understand I live in a big house. I understand I'm worth millions of dollars. But you know what? I got there with hard work, sacrifice, and making good deals. Knowing where to make cuts in my life, when to go out, when to stay home. I've lived by the book, but I've got to where I am because I'm like each and every one of you, and you guys can work just as hard and have success in your lives too. I'm going to make your country like that again so that you can benefit. You can start investing. You can start saving. You can start going on vacation. You can afford to buy groceries again. Jobs will be abundant. We won't prevent industry from getting its products to market. We're going to encourage it. We're going to give out bonuses, as he has said, to cities who build on time, who meet the threshold, and they'll give an additional bonus for doing more. Those are good things. Just do it on a humanistic level where people can relate. And Pierre, my friend, you are going to have the easiest time maintaining your numbers all the way up to that federal election. But if you want to talk like everybody else, and if you want to start sounding like the liberals and attacking Donald Trump and attacking the same way the liberals are, you're just going to be wearing their mask and people are going to see through that. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to bode well. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sure I have pissed off enough people tonight. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, usually we wrap up with Q&A. I've carried it a lot further than I was supposed to. I'm going to wrap up the stream right there. I want to thank everybody tonight who joined us in the stream, especially Doc, Luke, Ingrid Stewart, Carson, Carbon Tax Carson, for gifting the memberships. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us tonight on stream. Join me Friday night. Mrs. Fringe will be here. I promise, no more complaining about Pierre. Essentially, I shouldn't even say complaining. I wasn't complaining tonight. I just want better. I think we should all take a minute to think about what is better for us in the long run, not just a quick fix. What is it you want moving forward? Think about that. Think about that until your representative comes to knock on your door or gives you a text message asking if they can have your support. What's important to you in the next election? Because that's what it's all about, folks. Keep your stick on the ice. Look after each other. Join me tomorrow for more video content here on the channel. Join me Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, ladies and gents. I hope you guys have a great night. Keep your stick on the ice. I'll catch you on the next one, ladies and gents. Take care. Have a good one.